let's let Imarn. Okay, cool. All right.
I certainly would.
I don't think, allow me to finish, Imarn, that you only have a problem in terms of...
Yeah, I know. That's the point you made. All right. I know. That's the point you made, which is why I'm trying to let Imarn respond to it. Does diversity training do more harm than good? It's time now for the head-to-head. So, diversity training may well be the cause of an uprise in false racism claims. That's what researchers in the US have claimed as their study found those who read extracts by diversity scholars went on to register 35% more microaggressions, yes, that's right, microaggressions, in scenarios where it didn't exist. It was suggested that this could help explain the febrile atmosphere around race, that diversity schemes are counterproductive as well. Now, what do you think? Do we still really need diversity training in our society? Is there a case to say that it actually does more to divide us than bring us together? Let me know your thoughts now. gbnews.com/your say, or you can, of course, tweet me at GBNews. While you're there, make sure you go and vote in our poll. I'll bring you the results very shortly. But to battle this one out, I'm joined by political commentator Aman Bagar and anti-racism activist Imarn Ayton. Both of you, thank you very much. Great to have you both on the show. So, Aman, I'll start with you on this. Do you think that we need to scrap diversity programmes in workplaces?
Good to be on the show, Patrick. Good to see you back. Look, I think we shouldn't have had diversity training in the first place. Let's be honest, the free market, most companies which are going there to make a profit work pretty well without having to be diversity trained. Now, let's be honest, without wanting to sound like an episode of Goodness Gracious Me, you know, the CEO of Google, Indian, Microsoft, Indian, Adobe, Indian, YouTube, Indian, the World Bank president is Indian. But the fact is, coming back to the UK, British Indians, for example, are more likely to be in level 1 professional jobs than white British people. Now, where's the need for diversity training in that? And more so, I think it foments division. Division because it starts on from a default position by basically saying, well, you know what, the whole country is racist, so we need to train people not to be racist, when that's not the case.
All right, I'll come back to you. Imarn, I'll come to you now. Or we'll just also say, well done the Indians, by the sounds of things there, Imarn. They've absolutely smashed it. So, but Imarn, do we need diversity training in the workplace, or does it lead to, as this report would suggest anyway, more people may be seeing racism when it might not necessarily be there?
I love the fact that you said that. And it's such an important point. May I try not to be kind of intellectual in this point, but I want to say, if we're going to see racism, it's because of our brains. There's a process, it's called a cognitive process in our brains. It's called the reticular activating system. So if you prioritize something, Aman or Patrick, if you prioritize something in your life, you're going to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
You're going to see it everywhere. That's how your brain works. Am I lying? We know how brain works, right? Neurocircuits, neurons, etc. If you think of something and you believe it is a priority, you're going to prioritize it, and therefore you're going to see it everywhere. It's just like if you buy a new car, you know, like you get a new Mercedes and then next minute, you know, you start seeing Mercedes everywhere. It's the exact same thing. So in terms of do we see racism everywhere where it isn't or where it is, I would argue it's because it's there. We've now become conscious of it, and now we're trying to find a solution as to how to fix it.
Okay, fair enough. Aman, I'll throw it back your way for this, everybody. Now, as I understand it, the way that equality law works in this country is if you are bringing a racism allegation against your employer, more often than not, the burden of proof is on the employer to try to prove that they are not racist, as opposed to you having to prove that there was really some definitive racism, i.e.
No, you're wrong.
Feelings matter. No, I'm not.
Patrick, you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You are wrong. I won't interrupt you, but I will say you are wrong in that respect. If you're going to break it down in that respect, in terms of how organisations work, in terms of the grievance policy, the disciplinary policy and the complaints policy, you're wrong. But
Okay.
I'll continue.
All right. We can disagree on that. I mean, I am aware of some experiences with this kind of stuff where it's very difficult sometimes, which is why I suspect, Imarn, quite a lot of employers try to do some of these diversity things, so that if they do ever have some kind of grievance brought against them for some kind of microaggression, they can fall back and say, well, actually, we do diversity training. Look, we're not racist, and maybe it's a cover.
And that's exactly what it is. This is a multi-billion-pound industry around the world, certainly in the West, that is there as a performative, this Marxist performative bakwas. That, look, we're ticking a box. We're giving you an hour's worth of seminar in your lunch hour to try and train you not to be racist towards others around you. And it's not even that. I mean, do you remember Coca-Cola asking their employees to be less white? I mean, that's not inclusiveness. That is the very definition of racism.
Using the internet without a VPN is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. We want to help protect you. This video's sponsor, Private Internet Access, is the VPN to help keep you safe. Now, you might be asking, what is a VPN? Well, a virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. This way, it shields your digital life from the eyes of those that are looking to exploit your private information. Whenever you connect to the internet on a public Wi-Fi network, such as at airports, coffee shops, friends' houses, or even in your own home, your data is at risk of being stolen. Hackers that are connected to the same Wi-Fi network have the ability to steal your personal data with ease. T-Mobile reached a settlement this year with the US Federal Communications Commission after they suffered data breaches in 2021, 22, and 23. In 2023 alone, over 37 million customers' data was exposed. And it's not just hackers to be concerned about. Information can be censored. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news content that you love. Private Internet Access is available for all platforms: Windows, macOS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one Private Internet Access subscription to protect an unlimited number of devices at the same time. Plus, we've got a huge GBNews discount. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get 83% off PIA. That is under £2 a month, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So head to piavpn.com/GBNews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
I mean, with respect, Justin Trudeau tried to be less white on a couple of occasions with disastrous consequences. So I'm not really sure that's exactly what Coca-Cola had in mind there. But Imarn, when it comes to things like microaggressions in the workplace, I mean, these allegations that are made against people can absolutely ruin lives. I'm not trying to diminish genuine out-and-out racism, right? I mean, I think the obvious stuff that people can see, terrible. I mean, it's literally illegal, right? So, and so it should be. But things like microaggressions, they can have a really devastating impact on someone's life. And with respect, I do wonder if it's quite easy to lob a bit of a racism allegation out there. It does seem to happen a lot when people are disgruntled in a workplace. All of a sudden it can become a racist issue.
Yes. You know what? I'm going to be so honest with you both. I think you made a very valid point in terms of I would use the term virtue signaling. So I wouldn't use Marxist. Not everyone's a Marxist just because they're woke, But some people do virtue signal, right? Organizations, charities, etc. So I'm actually in agreement with you when you talk about this kind of thing of organizations or charities or the church, for example, delving into equality, diversity and inclusion initiatives. And that being perceived as virtue signaling, I fully get that. What I do want to say is that it starts from a nice place, as in we understand that there is racism in this country and therefore we are trying to rectify it. And the easiest way to do that is to follow the law, right? Follow the law, the Equalities Act, 9 protected characteristics, race being one of them. And I will actually pose a question to both of you. I appreciate, Imarn, that you feel that this is very much virtue signaling when we talk about racism and we talk about the effects of racism for Black and brown people, including yourself. So I would argue, I don't think you would say that about one, Sikhs. You're wearing a turban. Correct me if I'm wrong in saying that it's a turban. I think it's a turban.
All right.
I don't think you would argue that if I was a Sikh. And I also don't think you would argue that, Imarn, if we were really to delve into the Equalities Act, if we really talk about the Equalities Act, I don't think you would talk about awareness training in regards to sexism, for example, domestic violence and stalking. I don't think you would talk about that in regards to disabilities and awareness training in terms of ableism. I don't think you would talk about that in terms of religious discrimination and how this nation should not be anti-Semitic. I don't think, Imarn,
okay, cool.
allow me to finish. I'll just finish it off by saying, I don't think, allow me to finish, Imarn, I've not finished. I'll keep it brief. Please allow me to finish. Thank you very much, sir. I don't think you would say that about 3 of the 9 protected characteristics, but I do believe, Patrick and Imarn, you are saying this about race. 1 of the 9 protected characteristics of the Equalities Act of 2010, which is there to protect everyone from every type of prejudice.
Right. Okay. All right. We get your point. We get your point, Imarn, but we are running out of time. So
1 out of the 9, which is race, Black people. You don't like awareness training in regards to racism. You like it with Sikhs. You like it with.
Okay. So let's let Imarn come back to it. Imarn, fine. We've sat here and listened to you, but we are pressed for time, Imarn. So I'm going to let Imarn because look, reading between the lines there, Imarn. I think basically, Imarn's maybe saying that you might only have a problem with this when it relates to Black people. So I think we do need you to come back to that.
That's my point. I'm trying to make it to you guys that you only have a problem in terms of
I know, that's the point you made. All right, I know, that's the point you made, which is why I'm trying to let Imarn respond to it. So come on, let's do it.
You don't have a problem with all the other 9 protected characteristics. You have a problem with race. And my point,
Imarn, I'm going to have to ask you to stop, I'm afraid. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to stop and let Imarn come back to it, and then we're going to have to go. Okay, Imarn.
Look, thank you, Patrick. Look, I would argue the same what I'm arguing about race for all the other protected characteristics. Look, it's illegal. It's a criminal offence to discriminate against someone on all of those protected characteristics. And therefore, if you're having issues in the workplace, you go and seek the police's help. You go to the courts. You seek legal recourse.
50 years of review. You're just talking nonsense. Don't talk about police.
Imarn, come on. Look, we can't have people. All right, look, I'm sorry, we can't have people talking over each other. So, Imarn, you're going to have to be very quick. Then we're going to go. All right.
Look, the bottom line is, if this is where you and I disagree. I started from the point of view that everyone is not a racist, is not a bigot, does not have a prejudice, and that's the starting point. If someone by the law, they don't need training. You don't train society to be less bigoted.
Would you say that about domestic violence? Would you say that about sexism? Would you say that about misogyny? Would you say that about anti-Semitism?
We're going to have to get going, I'm afraid. As much as I enjoy this robust debate, but we're going to have to because we're out of time. So thank you very much. Thank you. That's political commentator Imarn Ayton there and anti-racism activist Imarn Ayton. Right.